This is kind of funny. It did like
It did less than $1
$999,000.
million, right?
Yeah.
Did less than $1 million.
Now
And,
here's one thing I wanted to say because I'm not too sure about this, and see what you think, Disco and Joe. So I heard the reason that the rating was low is because everybody was watching the Hurricane Watch. But I'm thinking to myself, unless you have a family member in Florida, why would the rest of the nation be watching the Hurricane Watch?
And let me also point out to you, when you watch the hurricane coverage,
right?
It's like, bro, nobody turns on the Weather Channel and watches that thing for like 2 straight.
For 2 hours.
You're watching
10 minutes.
You watch the updates.
You're constantly tuning back in to get updates on the hurricane. Okay, so it's like you're not going to sit there and convince me that from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, 200,000 AEW fans watch the what? Right. Okay. Right. So and like Dave's been on a rant. Keeps trying to drive that home. It's like, bro, there's another thing too. Way more people were watching TV because of the hurricane, and then a lot of channel surfers would probably gravitate towards the thing. My point is the rating was probably down because, bro, they 40 minutes worth of the show. You had 2 guys that just people are not regulars on the show. Juice Robinson and been putting Bandido in the main event, and I'm just sorry. It's like they've shown they've done good numbers when they use their main eventers.
Not only that, bro. I think a lot of people don't know who Yuta is, and a lot of people don't know who Daniel Garcia is.
Right. So they're trying to focus on these. But let's get to it. But I would suggest that if it was Wardlow versus Chris Jericho in the main event and Jon Moxley versus Miro, I suggest that the numbers probably would have been better. Okay, and that's just hypothetical, but that. I don't think a lot of people would argue that with me, right? So let's go to what actually would even be a better match to show? Samoa Joe versus Jericho, I think would have drawn.
Joe couldn't get into town because of the hurricane stuff.
Well, yeah, but it didn't matter because they already announced these matches like last.
They did, yeah. But he was supposed to be on the show apparently, but travel issues.
Right. All right. So let's go with NXT, and they start off. Wait, what am I doing? NXT,
Dynamite.
Why am I looking up NXT here for some reason? Talking about Dynamite. Konnan, are you interested in hearing any of the AEW Dark or Dark Elevation results?
They've already been given.
I went over it. Well, I went over Dark Elevation that was taped in Philly, but I don't know if you have the ones that hasn't been aired yet. So maybe you have different ones.
All right. So the show opens up with Jericho, Sammy, Matt Menard, Angel Parker, Garcia, Tay Mello. Her name is Tay Mello now, not Tay Connie. Mm-hmm. And Anna Jay, all dressed in purple for the Jericho's Ring of Honor title celebration. The pizza guy was in the ring too, where pizzas were set up on a table and balloons were tied to the ring posts. Okay. Parker told the fans to appreciate them. He also labeled Philadelphia the city of losers. Menard pointed out Luigi Primo, who said he made New York style pizza, which drew boos from the crowd. The fans chanted, "We want pizza." Jay introduced Jericho as the greatest Ring of Honor champion of all time. Jericho asked the crowd if they wanted pizza, told they can't have any. He boasted about being the most visible Ring of Honor champion in history. He took a jab at the company. He also put over Bandido and said a sports entertainer beats a wrestler every time. Jericho printed Garcia with a gift, and Garcia opened and found a purple hat. Jericho put the hat on Garcia's head, and Garcia threw it down and punched out Luigi Primo. Garcia said this isn't what he envisioned when he became a pro wrestler. He said he tolerated it, but he thinks he's had enough. Garcia said he had something to tell Jericho, who stopped him and told him to really think about what he was going to say next. Jericho asked Garcia if he's a sports entertainer or a pro wrestler, and the fans were chanting, "You're a wrestler." Bryan Danielson comes out by himself, okay, and before Garcia could give an answer, and Danielson walked out with William Regal, who remained on the stage while Danielson headed to the ring. Danielson told Garcia he respects him and he's a grown man and can do whatever he wants. And Danielson said Garcia could stay with the Jericho Appreciation Society or could join the Blackpool Combat Club. Jericho told Danielson he's tired of Danielson trying to poach his guys. And Jericho claimed Garcia belongs to him and does what he tells him to do. Garcia told Jericho he doesn't belong to him, nor does he have anything to do with anything he tells him to do. Garcia said they were supposed to be entertaining. He asked if it would be entertaining if he tossed a pizza on the ground or woke up Luigi and talked pizza with him. Garcia asked if it would be entertaining if he teamed with Justin Roberts. Garcia asked the crowd if it would be entertaining if he was in a tag team with Danielson. The fans chanted yes. Garcia said it would be entertaining if he and Danielson teamed up and faced Jericho and Guevara. Menard scolded Garcia and said he should punch Danielson in the face. Danielson said he was told he could have a match with anyone who wants to fight him, so he proposed the Entertainer versus the Heart of Professional Wrestling. And basically, then they go to a match between Bryan Danielson and Matt Menard, where Bryan Danielson, basically Parker's out there with Menard, and Claudio comes down, attacks Parker at ringside, and Claudio hoisted Parker up and carried him up the ramp in the backstage area. And in the ring, Danielson applied the bell lock on Menard and got the submission win. And Bryan Danielson, this is all one big giant segment, and Bryan Danielson beats him in 8 minutes and 40 seconds. What did you think of this?
Okay, I'm going to ask you first because I definitely have an opinion on this.
A lot of holes in logic here, storyline-wise. Why did the Combat Club all come out together with him? They got all the Jericho Appreciation Society guys here. There would have been a far better visual. And it would have meant like maybe they might brawl or something, you know. But like the fact that they didn't attack Bryan Danielson or anything there while the heels are there, just let him kind of punk him on the mic. Bro, Daniel Garcia is coming across as a guy. It's like, you know, like the verbiage here you could have really buried this kid. It's like, dude, you're boring. You know, if Jericho was saying, say, dude, you're boring. We're trying to give you personality, and you're spitting in our face and everything. Like, you know, because that's what this comes across to me. It's like he got really mad that he gave him the purple hat. It's like the purple hat didn't look bad on him. You know, it's like this is just a very discombobulated, weird angle. Sports entertainers versus professional wrestling, where they're not holding true to the characters and the groups. Like they're coming out by themselves. I'm not into this. And plus it's for the Ring of Honor stuff. You're trying to put over Ring of Honor on a you know, and bro, people just, I'm sorry, but people just think Ring of Honor is a second-rate company compared to these companies, you know. And I don't know what's going on here. I'm like, the verbiage was fine and they visually looked good, but this is just a weird, goofy angle with me. What do you guys say about this?
Well, first of all, let me just say I thought the Philly crowd was really into everything, including this.
They will be, though. Yeah.
I just thought there was a lot going on, too much, in fact. There's some really good parts. You know, I love the fact when Luigi came out, he just looked like a guy that you'd find in New York making pizzas, you know?
Right.
And I love when Jericho goes, you want pizza? You can't have any. Daniel was actually better on the mic than usual. I just don't buy him as a star. I do not buy Anna as a badass. I don't know why they even gave her the mic.
Did she how she was overacting, like eating the pizza and stuff? Like,
or even when she was on the mic.
Yeah.
She's not good on the mic, really doesn't say anything or add anything much. Too much going on, too long, all over the place. People in the background eating pizza, kissing, Bryan Daniels is on there. To
like
me,
this is not money at all.
Right. This lost a lot of steam by the end. This would have been way better if it was cut in half. And here's another thing, you know, Jericho kind of buries ROH. He said something like, in a week, more people have seen me with this belt than any other Ring of Champion, Ring of Honor.
It's 100% true, though.
Because no one knows about Ring of Honor. Yeah, but it buries the company. You're the champion.
There is no company. They don't have a show. It's like it's like I can see him doing the, like, honestly, what would Chris's character do here?
Well, I don't know, because Chris's character is kind of all over the place too, because he actually lets the people sing his song. If I'm a heel, you're not singing my song, and I know that's like one of my pet peeves. You know, you're a heel. Why are you giving people a feel-good moment? You should let them start singing, then stop it. Go, you cannot sing my song. You're not worthy. Boo, boo, boo.
Yeah, right? I know he said he wanted to change songs, but AEW didn't want him to. So he has that in mind.
Yeah, but there's no reason for everybody to be singing it. You're a babyface.
Right.
And, you know, Danielson gave Menard a lot, which I'm kind of glad, because Menard deserves it. But, you know, this match was not in doubt, so there was no real investment.
Right. There was no heat.
Yeah, the moment they announced the match, you knew who was winning.
Right.
Yeah, this segment should have ended with heat.
Right.
And it didn't.
Right.
You know, right. It's just like
they should have left Bryan Danielson and Daniel Garcia laying.
Right. And then they came out and like they had the whole heel faction and it ended with the whole heel faction came out for segment and one of them ended in the ring getting pinned while the other one get carried up the ring.
It was like 2 against 6. And that's the weirdest thing. When I see a grown man carrying another grown man to the back, I'm like, are you gonna give him a in the back? What are you doing? What are you doing? What is this?
All right, so next Wheeler Yuta comes to the ring with that entrance music. He got a mic and delivered an in-ring promo. He's trying harder here. I got to give him credit for the effort. Okay, he said he and MJF have a problem. He says not the MJF has a new army that he hit him because he's been hit a lot harder. He took issue with MJF putting his hands on Shivani. Yuta brought up facing MJF in a match, but he said he likes to hide. And Yuta recalled MJF hiding behind the inner circle, the Pinnacle, and now the Firm. Yuta recalled some MJF insults and called for him to come out and take the ass kicking he deserves. MJF came out dressed in a Mets jersey. And he brought up that Utah's from Philly, and then labeled the city the people live in where they can't afford to live. They can't afford to live in New York. He's talking about you, Joe. By the way.
Right.
MJF taunted fat old Tony Schiavone, and MJF recalled his history with Utah and he's talking about his history with Utah in the Indies and put over his in-ring ability. And MJF said, "Daddy had to put Utah in his place last week." MJF took issue with Utah kind of cutting into his promo time, and then said Utah has as much charisma as the late Joe Frazier does today, and he's dead.
Oh.
MJF insulted the Phillies baseball team and said it was a local sports insult because he doesn't have to care. MJF boasted about his wealth despite being only 26, and Utah said he would leave MJF in a pool of his own blood on Broad Street, and Utah said bad things happen in Philly. He left the ring and started to walk towards MJF, but then Austin Gunn and Billy Gunn came out. MJF teased facing Utah on the show, but then he said he would face him in Dumpy, D.C. next week. MJF told the fans they don't deserve to hear his catchphrase. He said he was just going to his luxury box and said he might cash in his chip on Moxley. And MJF told Austin Gunn to deliver his catchphrase and headed backstage before he did. I thought that when the Gunn brothers came out, that FTR was going to come out through the other thing because they had an exchange last week on the backstage, and I thought that would be the deal. But this was like, bro, MJF does not need. MJF should not be fighting. MJF should not be messing with anybody else if he's in the angle for the title. And I don't. This brings him down, in my opinion.
I think they're trying to give you to the rub. They're obviously all in. They're obviously
Utah and Garcia, yeah.
Right. And the people loved him. I'm glad Utah finally grew a beard. At least he doesn't look 15. And the crowd loves him. I didn't know he was from Philly. Yeah. Can you imagine, you go from the Broad Street Bullies to this? He looks like a Pilates instructor. I mean, right. Can you imagine him? Can you imagine wheeling this guy out in front of a Philadelphia hockey crowd?
Right. Yeah.
This guy's Barra too. And I love the Guns because they're obnoxious, but in an entertaining way, you know?
Yeah.
And here's another thing. I don't know why they never capitalized on this. I don't know if you ever saw when Austin Gunn did a video where he was rapping.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually very, very, very good. And I thought, why isn't he doing a rap off against the guy from The Claim? They've never done that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they have, but they did it on Rampage. Actually, they did do it on Rampage, I think.
They did? All right.
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
So they do another short video of Jay Lethal against Darby Allin on next week's Dynamite anniversary show, and both spoke briefly and, typical.
Hey, let me ask you a question, Disco. I've never seen a show where so many people come out who contribute or mean absolutely nothing. What is Singh's purpose? Explain it to me, because I don't know.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I think he had a line in here. They said, Lethal told Sanjay Dutt and Satnam Singh that he knew he could beat Allen on his own. All right, so what's he going to have? So what the fuck? Yeah. Why are they there, right? It's kind of weird. So we do John Moxley against Juice Robinson. Juice Robinson comes out to no reaction because nobody knows who he is. And they didn't really do anything this show leading up to this to make you know who he was. Typical Moxley match. He's bleeding again for no reason whatsoever. Right. And basically applies this cross arm breaker and gets a submission win in 10 minutes. So after the match, Moxley stood on the ropes and looked at MJF, who was still in his luxury box. And Hangman Page made its entrance. And what was he wearing?
Okay. The guy was wearing a shirt with pink roses and pink roses on his pants. How cute. We're supposed to take this guy seriously, and the people love him. They're cowboy.
Right, yeah.
Like, this guy looks whack as
Right. It's like he literally looks like a millennial cowboy.
Yeah.
Like if you had
he looks like seriously like Brokeback Cowboy,
Right. So then they show MJF up in the luxury box, and then Wheeler Yuta's there. Spuns around, they start brawling, and the security pulls out. Actually, Utah's brawling. Maybe Utah's been listening to the show, or somebody's been telling him, dude, your brawling's got to look better, because it definitely looked better in this. It looked markedly better than it has in the past. So
okay, let me
all right, but
tell you what I thought. I thought the match was all right. People really weren't into it that much. Were they into it live, Joe? Because you were there.
Not as much as other segments. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good brawl, but again, like Disco said earlier about the Bryan match, the result was not in doubt at all.
Here's what I don't understand. There must be some sort of mentality that let's bring in these people that the hardcore people know as a surprise with no build-up.
Yeah.
But they usually don't work. So why do you continue to do it? You know what I'm saying? I mean, people were not really into this. You know, now I thought the thing with Utah was very well done. He looked very physical, which he needed.
Right.
But I still don't care about him.
No, neither do I. All right, so Saraya comes out and she said she got chills and delivered the "I'm back" line, and the crowd chanted "Welcome back." She said she would create change in the women's division, dubbed herself the Revolution. There we go again. Fans chanted, "This is your house," and Saraya said it was tough to talk because she was nervous. She declared AEW is her house. She said she would leave the ring when she's ready, then call for the women to come out. This was, bro. Okay, so Toni Storm, Athena, Willow Nightingale, Sky Blue, and Madison Rayne come out, and I guess this is what they looked like. They looked like they had a bunch of real cool outfits, and somebody stole them, and they had to come out and wear their regular clothes because that's what these girls looked like.
Right, nobody was dressed up. That's true.
None of them. Okay, so Saraya introduced Storm and said she's finally being utilized to her full potential. And Saraya dubbed Storm the best champion the AEW's ever seen, which was greeted by the crowd did not buy that line. So Britt walked out where Jamie Hayter, Rebel, and Penelope Ford, who also looked like they had all their cool gear stolen and just dressed in what they wore to the show. Baker labeled Saraya a shiny new toy and dubbed herself the face of the women's division. She said she put her neck on the line for AEW and then said, unlike Saraya, she knows her neck can handle it. Baker mocked the pronunciation of Saraya's name, and Saraya was censored when she said Baker's name rhymes with she basically said,
Brit.
like rhymes with Brit rhymes with Baker turned her focus to Storm, then a Jamie Hayter chant broke out because everybody likes Jamie Hayter now. Baker sang the praise of Serena Deeb, who made her entrance and joined the heels on the ramp, and Saraya said she had a boss that finally listens to her. They said they decided to make the AEW this match a lumberjack match, and bro, this was funny. And then she goes, for the championship. And like literally the crowd, there was crickets in the crowd for that announcement, okay? So she went face-to-face with Baker for a moment before heading to the stage. Then Toni Storm wrestles Serena Deeb in 11 minutes and beats her in whatever, just a basic, simple match between the two of them. But they did some lumberjack spots where they were chasing each other. It's like this is a cluster, in my opinion. What'd you think?
Well, I like Paige personally because I know her. I like her professionally. I've always liked her. But this was way too long, and I thought it was kind of unprofessional to say, don't wrap me up, I'll stop when I want, because if that was a shoot, you just say it into someone's segment, okay? Way too much Saraya, because afterwards she was on commentary. No need for the lumberjacks, okay? And I said this before, I think the star now is Hayter, and what do? They have Willow run her off.
Right.
It's like, really? She goes, I am the revolution. That was really more like revolting. When she actually said Toni Storm is being utilized to her full potential, some people booed.
Yeah.
Okay? And I'll tell you why, because I think people see what I've said. She doesn't work the crowd. She's not charismatic. She just goes from move to move. Okay? She doesn't take command of the ring. She doesn't act like a star. Albeit she's a good worker and good looking, but we don't really know much about her. It's almost like Serena. Serena reminds me of Dean Malenko. She's just awesome. She goes from hold to hold. She's very proficient. But we don't, I guess her gimmick is she's the teacher. They've never really done anything to really explain that. And she's not the most charismatic person I've ever seen, but she's really good in the ring. I'll tell you that.
Mm-hmm. So this is kind of disappointing. So I thought, so AEW, Max Caster and Anthony Bowens and Billy Gunn are in the back interview by Shivani, and they said next Wednesday is National Scissoring Day. They also mentioned having an open contract for Rampage. And Keith Lee showed up and said Swerve Strickland was at the show because he's disgruntled over Gunn getting involved and costing them the tag titles. And Lee told the Acclaim they were carried and then walked away. And Gunn did the scissor bit with Bowens. It's like a minute and a half, and it was these are the new tag team champions. I thought you could have had a far more entertaining segment with them than this because this was kind of lame.
Well, let me tell you two things about this that were very glaring to me. First of all, and I've been saying this, I've been thinking it, but I haven't said it. Why is Billy Gunn with them? That makes really no sense. Why isn't he with his sons? Okay? Right. He doesn't really fit in. Kind of looks kind of out of place. Okay? And here's the other thing, bro. These guys are on fire right now. They should have done an in-ring promo with that hot Philly crowd.
Yep, absolutely. I'm not going to argue that at all.
And let them soak in that fan love.
Place would have went nuts, yeah.
Right. Big miss right there.
So here's another big miss. Shivani held the mic while Andrade stopped Private Party from bickering with Butcher and Blade. Jose was also present and told Private Party they upset Andrade and he's their boss. But bro, I'm reading this to you and it's like, you tell me what this sounds like, right? Jose was also present and told Private Party that they upset Andrade and he's their boss. He told them to shape up or ship out. After everyone else walked away, Matt Hardy showed up and said that last week felt right. He promised that they would do things right if he aligned with them again. On a scale of 1 to 10,
let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. How long has Andrade been there?
He does the same thing every single week.
Okay, but how long has he been there, Joe?
Over a year. Over a year, yeah.
Like a year, right?
Tell me something
Maybe
he's
year and a
done
half.
that you've liked. Tell me, Joe, tell me something he's done that you've liked.
He had a good match with Cody, if I remember right.
Okay, so he had one good match in 1 year. What else?
He was supposed to come in, everybody's talking about all these dream matches.
Yeah, right. I don't...
and bro, all he's done for a year is trying to recruit and manage
these straight J-Bros.
All I remember of him in this run is like he just sidles up to people backstage, and that's kind of what you see of him.
That's all he does.
Yeah.
Bro, they've underutilized him. He's not entertaining. Jose,
he's not happy. He's been tweeting.
I read something about that. What has he been tweeting?
Joe, you should have this.
I have not seen it, but
I haven't seen it either. Andrade?
He liked a tweet or something. A free.
Go to his tweet.
He had a tweet of like a picture of the beach, and he said it was hashtag free Andrade El Idolo. Hashtag free. Like I think he wants out.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I did real quick. I did read something else on that I wanted to get your guys' takes on. Konnan,
okay,
do you know who Rob Viper is?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me get through these and finish because it'll make sense at the end, right? He tweeted, "Here's the problem when you work with someone like L.A. Park. It's all about him. It's not that he always wants to win. In the right scenarios, he'll lose, but it's an ego thing. He just wants to be the center of attention. You have to treat him like he's the biggest star in the world."
Okay, I don't care what Rob Viper says. So
okay, there was like 7 tweets about how you can't deal with this guy because he's difficult, and it winds up at the end. He goes, "I was really talking about Andrade." That's why I wanted to read it.
Well, L.A. Park is probably the most difficult guy I've ever worked with.
Okay. And that's from experience, right? Obviously, yeah. All right, so let me tell you this. All right, so this is booking 101. So remember when I said we had Ricky Starks and Hobbs, and they're fighting each other. One guy has to go over, to advance himself, right? So Hobbs beats him a couple times, and Ricky Starks gets his win back in a lights out, whatever the match was he gets. So he beat Hobbs. Bro, when you book guys like that, and the guy goes over, you're supposed to have his next program ready, and like the next week, okay, now we're going to get him in the program, the next guy. Ricky Starks comes out this week and he just has a squash match against some guy named Eli Isom.
Who?
Eli Isom, and he beats him in 50 seconds, and I'm like, well, this was filler, right? So then they don't talk about any angle. He doesn't cut a promo. It's just he just went out and beat a guy after he beat Hobbs last week, and now what's my next
I wonder,
angle?
and here this is what I want. Well, okay, here's the thing, bro. Starks, besides the fact that he's been very underutilized, and I think you'll agree with this, really he's in a squash match. You can't do better with that with the roster you have.
Yeah. We've seen Juice Robinson and Eli Isom on the show so far, and they're two, they're non-regulars. Okay, and you got all the, maybe they literally a bunch of people couldn't be at the show. I don't know. All right, so I'm going to read this. This is hysterical because this is the way Excalibur reads this. All right, and this is what Jason Powell writes. Excalibur went into speed reading mode while listing the following matches for Friday Rampage. John Silver versus Roosh, The Acclaim versus Private Party versus The Butcher and the Blade in a triple threat match for the AEW Tag Team titles. Willow Nightingale versus Jamie Hayter. Lee Moriarty versus Fuego de Sol. Appearance by Hook. MJF versus next week. MJF versus Wheeler Yuta. National Scissoring Day. Luchasaurus and actress Chris Cage's corner after Excalibur also announced Darby Allin versus Jay Lethal. Daniel Garcia and Brian Danielson versus Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara. That's literally what it sounds like. He reads the cards and well, what do he say? It's like in 30 seconds he has to read the whole thing. He talks so fast it's hysterical. It's like a bit.
Do they put a graphic up?
Yeah, they do, but it's like so quick. It's
right.
It's like
leave it up there and let people digest it. Right.
Yeah, it's a waste of 1 minute because you wasted a minute trying to explain.
What we talk
everything.
about, they just do it to say they did it.
Right. Exactly because they know that their core audience is going to watch the show regardless or not. That's my point.
Yeah, but you do a big disservice to the people that's not your core audience.
I'm not going to argue that at all. So
just real quick on the Andrade thing. Like Disco said, he did tweet like him sitting on the deck looking at the beach, free Andrade. And then the other thing was he liked to tweet Somebody tweeted, incredible that Tony Khan does not know how to use you. You are one of the best fighters in the world, ex-champion of all the companies you set up, and look at the time on TV that you even fight. Andrade, you don't deserve this deal. And he liked that tweet. So that's what's
he's
going
right,
on.
because he's very, bro, the guy's a star in Mexico. He was a pretty good character on WWE. Now they're doing nothing with the guy.
I saw that they just,
very frustrating.
AEW also,
Bro,
they just signed, they signed Roosh, and they signed.
It seemed like WWE didn't know what to do with him. They signed Roosh.
They signed Roosh and Bandido, from what I read. Yeah.
Well, they signed Bandido after this match. The kid's a good worker, but like they did a video package before this. Oh, by the way, I missed something here. They had a video package on Jungle Boy's recent issues with Luchasaurus and Christian Cage, and Jungle Boy called the win over Rey Fenix one of his finest achievements and complained about what Luchasaurus and Cage did to him afterwards. So they did a little package on Bandido, and it's just all it was them showing him doing a bunch of moves and having him talk about that. Tony Schiavone talk about how great he is. It's like, no, if that's all you're going to do, it's like that's not getting me interested in watching this. So, but basically they had a good match. Jericho did a lot of stuff with this guy, but at the end he poked the eyes of Bandido and twisted his mask, which is a pretty good spot. And Bandido caught him an inside cradle for 2 count, but Jericho came back with the Lion Tamer and caused Bandido to tap out in 18 minutes and 25 seconds. Afterwards, Jericho said he was going to beat all the Ring of Honor guys and kind of buried, like you said, he buried the company. Then he challenged Bryan Danielson for the Ring of Honor title in Toronto. He said he would destroy every Ring of Honor wrestler, referee, and ring announcer. And he punched that Cruz guy in the gut and put him down with the Judas effect. And Jericho held up the Ring of Honor title belt in the ring to close the show. So I don't know. There was heat on the. If you thought that getting heat on the ring announcer was actually going to be heat, I thought it was funny, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but the match.
After this match, I guess Tony Khan came out and him and Bandido hugged and they signed him, and it was like, great, Bandido, they signed you. Now look at what they do with all the other Mexican wrestlers on the show. You're not going to get a word in edgewise. You're going to be wrestling on Dark and Elevation for the upcoming future, basically, which is what they do to every Mexican wrestler there. What do you think of this?
The match was the highlight of the show for sure. And like I said to Konnan earlier, like Chris was doing a lot of things and pulling off a lot of where I was like, God damn, So Bandido, the match overall won me over. One thing that you guys will like is that they've opened the door now, and if AEW, we talked about them bringing in outsiders and surprises. When Jericho says something,
why would you think I like that?
No, you'll see. When Jericho said that he wants to take out every Ring of Honor champion, that opens the door to have Low Key come in and Davey Richards. I know you won't like it. That's why I'm saying it looks like they're gonna have.
Nobody will.
They're gonna have surprise Ring of Honor champions come in.
The Forbidden Door is not working.
That's what they're gonna go for.
There's no metric you can show. There's no metric you can show. This the Forbidden Door, the way they're doing it, just bringing these guys in with no character development or anything. They just bring them. It's not working.
Yeah, it's gonna be, hey, next week Jericho versus. Remember Austin Aries? He was a Ring of Honor champion for a year.
Right. There's no angle here. It's just they're bringing back guys for him to wrestle.
It just makes their fans happy. Oh, this guy, I haven't seen him in a while.
Konnan, what did you think of this?
Well, Bandido worked for AAA on a per date deal, and he always brings it. He looked great here. I was happy for him because he's a real good kid. I love when he did that one-arm press on Jericho. Unfortunately, they did it during the commercial. I love the blockbuster suplex off the third, which I guess they call the fall-away slam now. The vertical suplex where he held them up for more than 30 seconds. People really liked him. Chris put on a marvelous performance. He based well for him. He must have respect for him, or must have seen him, or they put him over to him, because he really took a lot of bumps for him. And a lot of stuff that he could have gotten hurt on, he obviously didn't. And the great thing about Chris is, so many years in the business and wrestling so many luchadors and wrestling in Mexico, he knows how to edit a luchador match, So I thought this was a great performance by Jericho, and Bandido.
Yeah, he said that he had heard of Bandido, but the only thing he saw of him was he watched a match at his Tuesday night to prepare. So that's pretty amazing if he only had that little bit of experience watching his stuff,
Yeah, well, this is the problem. This is a problem.
Where would he know him from? Bandido's been in Mexico, which he doesn't watch Mexican wrestling. He's been in Ring of Honor, which I'm sure he doesn't watch either, because Ring of Honor at the end, let's be real, was
right. But basically, you're ending the show with this is a Ring of Honor show, basically, and it didn't do well in the ratings compared to the previous weeks, and it's understandable why, because you're not going to get a lot of people to care about this stuff until you put the effort in to make them care, and they don't do that. They give 30 to 45 minute promos for guys that don't really get their characters over, and it's just whatever. And then insiders like us that are students of the game will watch the matches, and it's like, oh, that was a good match. We analyze it, but it's like, I don't know. I don't. This isn't the type of stuff that draws fans, in my opinion.
Right. I mean, it's different perspective. You're there live and you hear the crowd going nuts, and the Ring of Honor stuff was probably best serviced to be utilized in Philly like that, where Philly knows Ring of Honor well. But exactly what you're saying, Di. If you're not a hardcore fan, if you're not a Philly fan that have seen Ring of Honor grow and all that, then it's not going to mean that much. It's not going to mean that much to you. You'd rather watch the Weather Channel. Right.
Exactly. That's been our AEW review.
Enjoy the rest of the show. Boom.